Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Yesterday, we have had the sad demise of former finance minister who also wore the cap of defense minister, a great legal mind, Mr. Arun Jaitley. He served as a senior advocate in Supreme Court, a legal luminary who was the additional solicitor general during VP Singh government, and a cabinet minister in the Modi government who oversaw the introduction of GST. He was a consensus builder. He brought the opposition and the states onto the negotiating table and achieved the desired results for India. The nation will miss a great soul, a disciplined parliamentarian, and an articulate leader. Let us pray that his soul rests in peace. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article of discussion is about India and UAE relationship. What is the context? Prime Minister Narendra Modi was on a three-nation tour. He visited France, United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. As a part of second leg of his trip, he visited United Arab Emirates to enhance and upgrade the relationship. One of the best outcomes due to continuous engagement with United Arab Emirates is that it has recognized granting of union territory to Jammu and Kashmir as an internal matter of India, which gave a major jolt to Pakistan. In this backdrop, let us try and understand why India and UAE are closer than ever before. Every country for that matter will have its own set of priorities. It has its own set of foreign policy goals as well. Pre 1990, India was closely associated with the Soviet Union. It has friendly relationship with Soviet Union. When you look at United Arab Emirates, it had close relationship with United States of America. So we were ideologically different. India did follow the pattern of non-aligned movement, but we had close relationship with Soviet Union. So because of this ideological divergence, what India and UAE had was a basic minimal relationship, but not an enhanced relationship. Post 1990, there was dissociation of the Soviet Union. India also changed its foreign priorities, which means from a close affiliation towards the Soviet Union, India became to have multi-dimensional relationship with almost all countries. This is when there was convergence rather than divergence between India and United Arab Emirates. This is one of the key priorities after 1990. After 1990, India also took a path of economic liberalization, which means that we were following a closed economy. After 1990, the LPG era opened up and what we had is an open economy. After India opened to the doors of the open economy, what we also see is the boost of India's GDP as well as growth and development. This ultimately led to rise of India as an economic power. India became an aspirational power. It started making a great moves when it comes to economy. It was a major power with China in Asia and it was an aspiring superpower world over. So there were two important advantages for India. One was the economic advantage. The other, it was practicing multi-dimensional approach in balancing its priorities with all countries. It is these two factors that led United Arab Emirates come up in close association with India. Adding up to this, India has one of the founding principles when it comes to its foreign policy. It does not interfere with any foreign relation on its internal dispute. We are not United States of America where we go up to some other country, break the entire political system, bring about anarchy in the name of democracy. And we are not China as well that we have quarrel with every other country in its neighborhood. So India was not a country which will interfere with the internal affairs of those countries. So adding to all these three dimensions, that is why United Arab Emirates has found out that India is a reputed partner and mutual coordination is required. So this is the prime reason as to why the enhancement in relationship, cooperation and upgradation of relationship has happened with respect to India and UAE. Both India and UAE are moderate nations. They follow secular credentials as well. But these two countries have been the victims of terror due to its geographical locations. There are countries in and around them who have been misusing religion in order to brew hatred, perpetrate crime to pursue their own political aim as well as agenda. In this particular backdrop, the United Arab Emirates and India share a common goal, that is combating extremism, fighting terrorism terrorism, combating and bringing about an end to ideological hatred. In this particular pursuit, both these nations have come up together to bring about security and defense cooperation. In pursuit of this, both UAE and India have come up with some legal mechanisms as well. What are these? Working and sharing of information, bringing about changes with respect to law enforcement, bringing about transnational crime into picture, and also engaging in certain extradition arrangements. It is through enforcement of all this India and UAE are planning to upgrade their security operation. At the same time, in order to bring a boost to their defense cooperation, they have come up with certain exercises as well. One of the important exercises in reference to defense is what is called as the Desert Eagle. What is this Desert Eagle? This is nothing but an Air Force exercise between the Indian Air Force as well as the United Arab Emirates Air Force. So kindly remember, this is another important defense cooperation mechanism that both these countries have come up with. Added to this, a major role is also being played by the Indian diaspora. With a 3.3 million strong population, the Indian diaspora in the UAE is the largest in the world. It is these people who are acting as the soft power for India. They are acting as a lobbying group in United Arab Emirates. In line with this, he has requested the NRI community, the diaspora in UAE, to come over to India, invest in India, especially in regions of Jammu and Kashmir, bring about a major transformation and development in Jammu and Kashmir, which has been neglected, is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken in United Arab Emirates. Another important point from your preliminary examination point of view is this Order of Zayed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been ordered with the Order of Zayed, which is UAE's highest civilian award. This award is named after Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, who happens to be the founding father of United Arab Emirates. This was basically awarded to Prime Minister Narendra Modi because it marks an appreciation for all the efforts that he has taken to bring about a boost to the bilateral relationship between India and United Arab Emirates. Why? That is because Indira Gandhi was the last Indian Prime Minister who visited United Arab Emirates in the year 1981. So after 1981, it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who visited United Arab Emirates, and it was he who was able to bring a transformation in the relationship. This undermines a new goodwill, a personal intimacy between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the UAE relationship. So this particular award previously was also bestowed upon Russian President Vladimir Putin, Britain's Queen Elizabeth, and Chinese President Xi Jinping as well. So this is what we need to know in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here says IAS officer quit citing lack of freedom of expression in Jammu and Kashmir. What is the context? IAS officer Kannan Gopinath, who came into light for his anonymous participation in flood relief efforts in Kerala, has resigned from the service. Basically, he has resigned from the service because he was really disturbed by the situation in Jammu and Kashmir, and he said that he was unable to voice his opinion as he was restricted by the conduct rules that have been laid by the government of India. Let's try and understand what this issue is all about with respect to the constitution. There are two important articles that we will have to know under this particular article. What are that? One is with reference to Article 19 of the Indian Constitution. The other is with respect to Article 309 of the Indian Constitution. What is Article 19? Article 19, subclause 1 under A basically deals with freedom of expression. But this freedom of expression is restricted to the government employees. Why? It is the same article under one of the clauses which also says the right of freedom of speech and expression is subject to reasonable restrictions. It is these reasonable restrictions that are imposed on the government employees. Why? Because these are government employees who are representing the government, the state of India. So this can be subject to the interest of sovereignty and integrity of India, friendly relationship with foreign states, public order, decency, as well as morality. It is this that is applied to all the government employees. That is why there is restriction of freedom of expression for all these government employees under Article 19. Another important article in reference to voicing against the government is that Article 309 of the Constitution speaks about recruitment and service conditions for all those people who have been recruited by the central government as well as the state government. What this article basically says is that, subject to the provisions, the rules that are prevalent in the Constitution, the Union Legislature, the state assemblies would also be able to come up with relevant laws as well as action plans so that the government officer will not be able to voice his opinion against the government, which is also meaning that he has certain conditions of service which he has to comply by. In line with this, the central government has come up with All India Service Conduct Rules of 1968. According to this law that has been drafted by the Parliament of India, it has barred all these government officials from criticizing the government. So any person would not be able to go up to the media, criticize the government. He cannot communicate via the radio or the television. He cannot publish anything on the document, or he cannot give any public utterances against the government of India. So it is this All India Service Conduct Rules in line with Article 309 of the Indian Constitution which should be able to regulate the conditions of the service. Public servants will not be able to voice their criticism against the government. Now the question is, why is this included? This is basically included to prevent indiscipline. What happens? The officers are the voice of the government and they are not agitators. They are implementers of the government scheme. So any act of lack of execution and indiscipline will lead to multiple voices within the same system, and there will be absence of the enforcement of law, absence of scheme, and this will ultimately result in anarchy. So what is the role of the government officer? He is working behind the curtains because the political executive is accountable to the people of India, but it is the officer who is working behind, and he does not have any right to criticize the government. He has to just be the implementer of all the schemes and programs, and if there are multiple people in the system all voicing and criticizing the government, who will implement the schemes, who will execute the schemes, and ultimately this will result in anarchy because of multiple voices within the system. So this type of criticism may also ignite passions between the central government as well as the state government. This can also bring in disturbed relationship between India as well as a foreign country, leading to embarrassment for the government. That is why such a discipline rule has been laid by the government of India under the All India Service Conduct Rules 1968. However, going forward, the government will also have to revisit this particular clause that have been laid under the All India Service Rules of 1968. That is because criticizing the policies of the government is not equivalent to disobeying the orders of the government. All that the officers are trying to do is to bring about a major transformation. Why? Because this is about positive criticism, constructive criticism, and this is the need of the hour in democracy, is what this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about India and Bahrain relationship. Prime Minister Narendra Modi happens to be the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Bahrain. This was the third leg of his three-nation tour. This is the geographical location of Bahrain with its capital Manama. Let's try and understand the entire view about India and Bahrain relationship. India and Bahrain have enjoyed outstanding worthy relationship since ancient times. It is not that these two relationship was started off after independence, but we have a journey since time immemorial. Our exchanges date back to Indus Valley civilization as well as Dilmun civilization. Kindly remember, this Dilmun civilization is associated with the ancient sites of the island of Bahrain. During these ancient times, there was a lot of exchange and trade relationship between Dilmun civilization as well as the Indus Valley civilization. India was known for its spices, and Bahrain and Dilmun civilization back then was known for Bahraini pearls. So what was happening was exchange of Bahraini pearls with India for the Indian spices that was exported to this particular civilization. This is with respect to the ancient trade and exchange. However, in the present scenario, the Indian and Bahrain relationship is one that is led by the Indian diaspora. India and Bahrain have had economic and trade relationship for several centuries. However, fresh impetus was also received. A new energy was also added due to diaspora's direct engagement with Bahrain after discovery of oil in the year 1970. So there was discovery of oil that happened in the 1970s in Bahrain. That is when large number of people from India started moving up to Bahrain. It is this presence of about 350,000 nationals who have been a major vanguards anchors for bilateral relationship with India. The Indian expatriate community is also one of the most trusted community in Bahrain. There are a number of countries in the Indian subcontinent: Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, so on and so forth. But it is Indians who are the most respected and preferred ones in Bahrain. That is because of the trust factor, the strong work ethics, as well as the values of the Indian system. So it is the Indian diaspora who are able to add a major energy into India and Bahrain relationship. On the economic front, India's exports are mineral fuels, mineral oils, inorganic chemicals, organic or inorganic compounds, precious metals of rare earth, isotopes, cereals, nuts, fruits, articles of apparel, as well as clothing accessories. At the same time, the main items of import are crude oils, mineral fuels, bituminous substance, distillation, aluminium, fertilizers, iron and copper, pulp, salt, printed books, as well as newspaper. This is with respect to the economic relationship. When it comes to the strategic relationship, Bahrain has always advocated India to play a major card in international relations. It has requested India to play a major role in the strategic affairs of the world, and it has also supported India's candidature for the UNSC permanent seat. Now coming back to the present context, India and Bahrain have agreed to collaborate on number of fronts. One is with respect to the space technology, the other is with respect to the solar energy, and the third is with respect to the cultural exchange. When it comes to space cooperation, the Indian Space Research Organization and Bahrain's National Space Science Agency have agreed to collaborate in the areas of space as well as technology. The two sides have also agreed upon for the cooperation when it comes to the implementation of the International Solar Alliance. Then when it comes to the cultural exchange, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also set to launch the renovation of 200-year-old Sri Krishna temple in Bahrain. Kindly remember, this happens to be the first as well as the oldest temple in the entire Gulf region built by Tatai Bhatia Hindu community. This is all we have to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here says US to open Greenland consulate. What is the context? The Donald Trump administration is planning to open a US consulate in Greenland for the first time in decades. What is the background? President Donald Trump recently sparked a diplomatic dispute where he wanted to engage with Denmark as he wanted to buy Greenland for the United States of America, for which the Danish government immediately rejected such a proposal. Now the question is, why did United States of America want to buy Greenland from Denmark? Greenland, which is part of Denmark, is the world's largest island. Kindly remember, Australia is defined as a continent, but it is Greenland which is the world's largest island. When it comes to Greenland's economy, it depends on fisheries as well as related industries. There are no major industries like manufacturing as well as the service sector, but annual subsidies are provided by Denmark, which handles its foreign affairs as well as the defense matter. Greenland has about 50,000 odd residents in its particular area, and these residents are called by a name called as Inuits. Who are these Inuits? These are nothing but the tribal people, the aboriginal people, the community which has been living in Greenland across the western coast of Greenland. They basically involve their lives in fishing as well as hunting of seals and whales. But the major question of this article is, why is that Mr. Trump is looking for taking Greenland from Denmark to United States of America, and that is because of its economic importance. Due to global warming, it is believed that oil and other mineral wealth could become more accessible in the Arctic as well as in the Greenland. That is why they would be able to explore number of minerals in Greenland when there is global warming, when there is depreciation of ice. What they'll be able to unearth is number of minerals in the form of iron ore, diamond, oil, uranium, etc. And this will become more accessible in the light of climate change. The island, whose capital is Nuuk, is also closer to New York than to the Danish capital Copenhagen, and this also boasts of minerals, oil as well as natural gas, and that is why United States of America wants Greenland to be a part of America. Apart from this, Greenland also harbors some of the largest deposits of the rare earth minerals. So these rare earth metals include neodymium, praseodymium, terbium as well as other rare earth metals as well. What is of importance from these rare earth metals is that these are used in the electronic manufacturing, and that is why United States of America is also planning to extract these rare earth metals, because currently majority of these imports are happening from China. China has a strategic advantage because of these rare earth metals. That is why in order to ensure the imports does not happen from China and it is able to extract on its own, that is why United States of America is wanting for this Greenland. Is this the first time that something like this has occurred? Not actually. US had first looked to buy Greenland and Iceland in 1867 under President Andrew Johnson. Then in the year 1946, President Harry Truman offered Denmark about $100 million for the territory, but that came to nothing. So there have been past examples as well. But what have been the successful attempts? Thomas Jefferson secured Louisiana from the French in the year 1803, and President Andrew Johnson also bought Alaska from Russia in the year 1867. That is why Mr. Trump tried to bring up a similar impact by taking a territory from another country so that he could be in one of those lists which bought another territory into United States of America. So this is what we need to understand in reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here, will India change its no first use policy, has been explained in detail on 17th of August 2019 under the third topic, no first use policy in India's nuclear doctrine is not rigid, says Rajnath Singh at 9 minutes 42 seconds. So kindly look into this for this explanation. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is the WTO becoming a new battlefront. This will be discussed on our economy this week. So kindly wait for the video. Now let's look into some of the prelims practice question. The King Hamad Order of the Renaissance recently seen in news is awarded by which country? The answer to this is Bahrain. Why? Because Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been awarded with this, the King Hamad Order of the Zayed, by the Bahrain King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. Now let's look into the next practice question. With reference to the National Trust, it is a statutory body under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Its duty is to discharge schemes and activities for the disabled. Which of the above statements are correct? The answer to this is both. Why have we picked this up? Because there is an article which speaks about the National Trust. So this National Trust is a statutory body under the Ministry of Social Justice. So what are the objectives of the National Trust? This will enable and empower all the disabled to live independently. It will empower them, provide them the economic tools, and it will ensure that all these welfare schemes that have been come by the government of India, their awareness is given to them so that they would be able to make effective use of all these government schemes. Now let's look into the next practice question. The Dampa Tiger Reserve is in the state of, the answer to this is Mizoram. Why have we picked this up? That is because there is a reference that is made with respect to the Dampa Tiger Reserve. Also remember, this speaks about the clouded leopard. Its IUCN status is vulnerable. It is also the state animal of Meghalaya. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements about vaquita. Its IUCN status is endangered. The vaquita is the world's smallest cetacean. Which of the above statements are incorrect? Because it is asking for the incorrect statement, that is why the answer to this is one only. Why? Because the IUCN status is not endangered, but it is critically endangered. The second statement is right, and kindly remember, it is found only in the shallow waters of the North Gulf of California, close by to Mexico. Why have we picked this article? That is because a reference has been made under this article. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following are correctly matched? New Murray Island, Arabian Sea, Pamban Island, Kerala, Sagar Island, West Bengal. The correct code is Three only. Why? Because the New Murray Island is not in Arabian Sea, but it is in Bay of Bengal in the Sundarbans. And when it comes to the Pamban Island, it is not in Kerala, but it is in Tamil Nadu, and it is also called as the Rameshwaram Island. Why have we taken this up? That is because the Kapil Muni temple is on the Sagar Island in Sundarbans. A reference has been made. That is why this preliminary practice question. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements. The President shall make rules for the more convenient transaction of the business of Government of India and for the allocation of ministers of the said business. All executive actions of the Government of India shall be expressed to be taken in the name of the Prime Minister. Which of the above given statements are correct? The answer to this is one only. Why? Because all executive actions of the Government of India shall be expressed in the name of the President, and it is not the Prime Minister. Now let's look into the mains practice question. Climate change due to human interference with nature is spelling dark clouds across the world, but it is also showering prosperity in Arctic region. Explain. Examine in detail how India-UAE relationship has new converging points in its diplomacy in contrast to divergence in the past. Please write all your answers on the comment section so that you guys can have a peer review amongst yourself. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.